Okay, we're covering 5-6, which is inequalities in two triangles. So last time we had one triangle. Today we're going to be looking at two triangles. Remember to take notes and do the check it out problems.
Our learning target today is I can apply inequalities in two triangles.
All right, so we start with two theorems. The Hinge theorem, it says if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another. So you can see we have those marked here. And the included angles are not congruent, then the longer third side is across from the larger angle. So here it tells us angle A is greater than angle D, so that means that BC has to be greater than EF. The converse says if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another, and the third sides are not congruent, then the larger included angle is across from the longer third side. And notice they're talking about included angle, so it is the angle in between the two congruent sides. So in this case, we have two congruent sides, and it tells us that side GH is greater than side KL. So that means that angle J has to be greater than angle M.
So now we're going to compare our first example. So we're comparing measure of angle BAC, which is this angle here, with angle DAC. Notice that the side DC is less than, ugly color, is less than side BC. So that means the measure of angle BAC is going to be greater than measure of angle DAC. For B, we're going to compare the side EF and FG. So this is 82 degrees here, makes this angle 98 degrees. So FG has to be greater than EF. And now for the last example, in this one, we're comparing, or find the range for K. And so here we know that 5K minus 12, this angle has to be less than 38 degrees. Because Pn is less than Mn. Solving for K. So our first inequality, we know that 5K minus 12 has to be less than 38. Solving for K, K has to be less than 10. That gives us our upper limit. Our lower limit, since we can't have a side length of 0, this has 5K minus 12, or an angle measure of 0. 5K minus 12 has to be greater than 0. Solving for K, K has to be greater than 12/5. So our compound inequality becomes 12/5 is less than K is less than 10.
All right, so here are some problems for you to do, and ask any question or come up with any questions if you have them.
Here's our next example. We have John and Luke leave school at the same time. John rides his bike 3 blocks west. So leaving school, John rides his bike 3 blocks west and then 4 blocks north. Luke rides his bike 4 blocks east, and then he heads south 10 degrees east. A little bearings going on here. Who is further from school, and explain that. Okay, so marking our diagram, we've got Luke, we have John going 3 blocks west, and then 4 north, so it creates a right angle, which makes this angle 90 degrees. Then we have Mr. Luke. He's heading 4 blocks east, and then he's going 3 blocks south 10 degrees east, which makes this angle here 100 degrees. So on our Hinge theorem, that tells us that this side from Luke to school is a larger angle. This side's longer than John's distance from where John ended up back to school. So Luke went further by the Hinge theorem. And yes, now it's going to be your turn.
Yeah, you get to look at this one with a swing and see if you can figure out about what you can conclude about the angles of the swings at full speed.
And yay, it's proof time again, guys. Write a 2-column proof. So we're given that segment AB is congruent to CD, it's marked up here, and that the measure of angle ABD is greater than the measure of angle CDB. So this angle up here is greater than CB. So we start with what we're given. And then the reflexive property, you know, BD has to be congruent to itself, from reflexive property of congruence. And so we have two congruent sides, and then we're looking at the included angle. They're not congruent, and the sides aren't congruent. So we can then state that AD, the side length here, has to be greater than BC because of the Hinge theorem. Larger angle, longer side.
All right, you get to try a two-column proof with this picture. It tells you C is the midpoint. Look at the information and see if you can write a two-column proof.
And you get two of them.
You get another one. The first one was so much fun.
And we're done here. So we looked at the Hinge theorem and its converse, and both of those establish inequalities involving two triangles that have two sides of one triangle congruent to two sides of another triangle. If the included angles are not congruent, then the longer third side is across from the larger included angle. If the third sides are not congruent, now these are angles, now we're sides, then the larger included angle is across from the longer side. So very similar to what we've been doing on last case also, or last lesson. Good luck. Any questions, class, and thanks.